Welcome back to the Show. I'm Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by my cousin and partner in crime, Landon. How's it
What's
going?
up? How's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. How you doing today?
I am great. I am great. It's been a very relaxing day. And so, yeah, as we record this on the weekend, it's been pretty cool, pretty good. Not a whole lot going on, which is nice sometimes.
Yeah, it's you gotta have those downtimes. Before we dive into our topic today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we drop our latest content. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on our shenanigans.
Yeah.
Uh, So today we're going to be tackling a topic that's hotter than a Texas sidewalk in July: the best and worst of classic television reboots. I don't know if it's that hot. I mean, it's Landon, when I say TV reboot, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
The first thing that pops into my mind is probably Saved by the Bell.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. Saved by the Bell. And I don't mean that in a good way.
No, I was going to say that's not one of the more positive
No, I mean that. I mean that.
areas.
I mean, if we're talking about things that I go, huh, hmm,
The
ah.
ones that you hear about it and you ask why.
Yeah.
Why would
You
you
want to
do
talk
that?
about one that's on the complete opposite end of the spectrum for me? It's Battlestar Galactica, hands down. Hands down, one of my favorite reboots that I thought turned out to be incredible.
Oh, it turned out better than the original.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I just think because once I hadn't seen the originals before I watched the show, so I went back and watched the originals, and I was like, no, but the show itself was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What comes to mind, best and worst, when you think about reboots?
All right. For me, the gold standard of reboots has got to be Cobra Kai.
Really? Wow.
Oh,
I mean, of course, it's great.
I mean, who would have thought that a bunch of middle-aged karate enthusiasts could be so entertaining? They took the 80s Karate Kid movies, sprinkled in some midlife crises, and voila, TV magic.
Yeah.
Um, you
Very
know,
good.
that's so when we say TV reboot, obviously that's not just a TV show that has been remade,
Right.
or you
Right.
come back 15 years later and suddenly here's season 5 of a
Right.
show that got canceled.
Right.
Um, I think that Cobra Kai certainly counts as a reboot.
Sure.
When you're talking about a series of movies that their last real installment was the next Karate Kid back in 92,
Right.
93, whenever that was.
Right.
um so yeah, that's so for me that's the gold standard. I feel like that's where you have the example of a show done right, because it's obviously been made by fans of the original material.
Right.
And so I think that's super important when you come into it. You can't just have somebody that comes in and looks at something and is like, this is an intellectual property that hasn't been touched for well over 20 years. What can we do with it?
Right.
Just to make money and to it will make money because of nostalgia.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Um, so on the flip side of that, Uh, I do agree. I think Saved by the Bell is probably one of the worst that have come out in recent memory.
My wife would say 90210. That was a
That
horrible
was
reboot.
that was a pretty bad one. Melrose Place did the same thing. I mean, why did they think that would succeed when
And I
90210
think
was failing?
both 90210s, both the reboot for the show itself and the one that they tried to do that was actually with the original cast. Like
Oh
they had
yeah,
two different types and both were pretty rough.
wasn't wasn't the one with the original cast more like a
Just
almost
like
like
a
a
mix.
reality
Yeah,
show?
yeah, like a reality show. And that was pretty rough. I also think if and I know this isn't like TV reboot, but it was a movie reboot from a show. I was disappointed with the Dark Shadows reboot movie from the Dark Shadows show. I really like the old show. Now, I don't think I saw the Dark Shadows reboot in the 80s, like that came out as the reboot from the show that was from the 60s.
Yeah, so that was one of my mom's favorite shows growing up was Dark Shadows. Like
Yeah,
it was like a soap opera. It
it
was on
was,
every
right.
day.
Soap opera.
Um
Black
and
and white, black and white,
yeah,
the original, right?
the first, I don't know, few years of it it was in black and white. Yeah, then they transitioned to color, but no, the so it was in 1990,
Oh, 90.
91, maybe, when the NBC rebooted Dark Shadows with Ben Cross as Barnabas Collins. Now, I'll be honest, I loved that show. Like I watched it
I never watched that one.
religiously
Yeah.
when it was on as a kid. I watched it, and whenever I find it streaming, I'll watch it again. Like every now and then, it'll pop up somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So I
free to
should watch
watch.
I should watch that. But the storyline for the Dark Shadows original show was good. I watched those, and I mean, I really liked it. But trying to do it with I think one of the challenges with the reboot movie with Johnny Depp is it made it cheesy. It was not. It's one thing to take the
I didn't
Legend of
take it
Sleepy
seriously.
Hollow. They didn't take it seriously, but you take a show that was serious. I don't know. I feel like when I saw Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, and it's you're taking a cartoon, not a cartoon, it's a story, but you're taking a story, then you have the Disney cartoon that everybody remembers, and then you create this movie that's got kind of a mix of scary and funny, intermixed in it, and that was a great Tim Burton, Johnny Depp. I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
But this was just not. It was as bad as Renfield, with Nicolas Cage and what's his face.
yeah, I wouldn't even. No. Uh, yeah, I think I finally watched that Dark Shadows movie. A few years after it came out. I was in no hurry to see it. Um, I think I was about as excited to see that as I was to see Charlie the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp,
Right, right, right,
which I
right.
still have not seen to this day.
It
Um,
don't don't do it.
yeah.
Don't do it to yourself.
Uh,
Gene Wilder
so
way.
I will say the reboot TV series though of Dark Shadows, like I said, I really enjoyed it. So if you ever find it somewhere,
Yeah.
watch it. It's a little corny in a 90s evening soap kind of way. And you can tell that they are desperately trying to condense years worth
Of
of
storyline
soap
into
opera
like
storylines
this
into
in a very
a
light-hearted way, right? Or are you talking about was that serious the one with Ben Cross?
it was serious. It was a very
Oh,
serious show.
yeah, that's good.
Um, I thought it was really well done, and I really liked Ben Cross as
How many
Barnabas.
seasons was it? Do you
It
know?
was just one, and
Oh,
really
really?
it was really only half a season because it was a mid-season replacement, and then it left on a cliffhanger at the very end of it at the in the first
Oh, that's
season.
the worst. That reminds me of what was that movie with Skeet Ulrich that show that oh, that was such a good show that they left on such a cliffhanger. Anyway, so there's also these other shows too that have taken on, like, you have like Magnum PI, MacGyver, you have Texas Ranger, you have, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of these little shows that are taking things that were beloved with some
Mhm.
strong characters. I mean, you're talking, MacGyver is iconically MacGyver. You've got um Anderson, right? You've got Magnum PI, which is Tom Selleck, right? You've got Miami Vice, which is Don Johnson. You've got Walker, which is Chuck Norris. These
Right.
are like people that were in those roles, and that's who them at. And then you're going to reboot because you think the storyline it merits a reboot. It's like, call it something else.
Yeah.
Like MacGyver.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? It's audacious. That's just my opinion. But some people love it.
In some cases, I think again, if it's well done, if it's well written, and again, I fall back on Cobra Kai. It's like I said, it's my gold standard. If it's well done, it's well written, and you have people who know the source material and appreciate the source material and can continue from it in a way that makes sense, go ahead and do it. But if you are going to just take the name Walker and put Jared Padalecki in there,
Right. That's just not.
that's no,
No,
I don't want to see that. I don't want to
no, I
see,
agree.
you know,
Be
a police
original.
procedural like rebooting Hawaii 5-0. Okay, that's what all you're doing is you're setting up a police procedural in a Honolulu police
That's right.
precinct.
Why not just
And
make another CSI? You know what I mean?
right,
For
you
love.
know, um,
I'm
so
with you. Don't
there's
tarnish it.
I don't mind. All right, so I'll use another recent one that I actually enjoyed. Um, they rebooted Quantum Leap recently.
Right, right, right,
Unfortunately, it was canceled after the second season. I think
right.
that's a mistake. I thought that it was going really. I thought that the story was really well done. Well, it was the second season was weaker, I thought, than the first season, but it was interesting the way that they left things at the end of the second season to see where they could have gone in the third season had it
Well,
happened.
especially if they had brought, back Scott Bakula into it. If I mean, here's the trick of this stuff is like you can have a show that has a similar kind of feel and vibe to it if you want to, but when you're associating something with some certain character, some people felt that way about Battlestar Galactica when they because of what they did with Star the guy who ends up being a bad guy, but he was the original guy who played Star. Oh,
Starbuck,
Starbuck. Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah,
but
you change Starbuck from a guy into Katie Sackhoff,
she
and
was
suddenly it's like,
amazing,
oh
right?
yeah, she was great.
But so I guess it can be warranted in some things, and really, Cobra Kai is a continuation. Still falls into the line of reboot because you're rebooting the franchise, but it's a continuation. You're still getting the value, so that allows you to be able to do that.
And
Um,
that's what I'm saying with Quantum Leap was it was a continuation of the original story.
yes,
They now it would have worked better had they been able to get Scott Bakula on board. And I know they wanted him,
right,
but the part that they wrote for him was not big enough for him to come back. And
right,
I get it. Like he's Scott Bakula, okay?
right.
He's gonna want to have a big enough reason to devote his time to this thing.
Okay, but doesn't part of you just kind of go, Scott, what are we doing today? Were you busy? Or pickleball? I mean, what was it? What
I
was it,
mean,
Scott?
he had just wrapped up CSI New Orleans or
Yeah,
NCIS New Orleans or whatever show that was.
yeah, yeah.
So uh it's like what are you doing, man? Let's give the fans a break because we know we all want to see Scott. We want to see Dr. Beckett get back home. So let's have our new hero, Dr. Ben Song, find Dr. Beckett somewhere in the time stream, and bring him home.
Bring him home. And
But
then we
no,
get invested in Ben Song and we can just stay there, right? No, no. The other one was that happened too soon was, you know, 24 had gone through all of its many, many seasons. It was getting redundant. It was, clearly time for it to end. And they tried to just say, well, let's just bring in another character and and keep the same thing going. You took one of my characters from The Walking Dead that we never found out what happened to him, and then that actor becomes, the new guy in 24, and it flopped. It wasn't because the storyline was tired. So sometimes you look at this stuff and you're like, what are you thinking, man? Well, I mean, what do you think people are into here? They're into Kiefer Sutherland, and they're tired of even Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland was tired probably of it too, for that
yeah.
matter.
You think about how old he's gotten over the years, and you just can't stay up for 24 hours like that.
No, not even with the bathroom break or eating a sandwich. I mean, good gravy. Anyway, so I think there's a few that I anticipate and I'm hopeful for. Probably the biggest one would be I am looking forward to the Harry Potter series that will come out of the show or out
Hmm.
of the movie series. I think if they really spend the amount of time in a series with each season, that it could be something valuable. Um, but that's probably the biggest one. There was another one I was thinking of too that I was looking forward to seeing. I can't remember it. Any you're thinking about looking forward to seeing possibly?
I hadn't thought about the Harry Potter thing. Every now and then you hear the news coming out that it's still happening, but that is one. Again, I'm always a proponent of if you're going to adapt a book, now that you have so many streaming services available, doing it in a long form television format is better than turning into a movie
100%. Well, there,
because
yeah,
you have so
you're
much
right.
more opportunity to expand on the things that are in the book, and you don't have as much room to complain about, oh, we're leaving this out because there's not enough time to
Well,
devote
the
to it.
character development alone, I mean, that's you're invested in the book so heavily. Um, yeah, I do know that, this is probably jumping into our pop culture news, but this is worth mentioning. Salem's Lot is coming I think on the 4th,
Yeah, they
October
finally
4th.
released a trailer for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be a reboot. This is one of those, it's like how many times can you fail? We'll see. Maybe it'll be good, but you
I
gotta
like that
be.
it's taking place in the 70s though.
Well, yeah, and I think that's better too. Just thinking about like um just thinking about the culture of the town and the way
Uh-huh.
it's depicted. It's kind of hard in the digital age to take something like that. It's like when somebody tries to do Carrie in a present day setting, as they've tried a couple of times. It's like, well, first of all, there's a few scenes in there that are not like some specific scenes that just wouldn't happen like in
Right.
today's day and age. And so um yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Not to get off topic, but I think about that sometimes too. I remember when I read Cujo, thinking, would this happen today? I mean, could a mom and her kid get trapped at some house where there's a rabid dog? I mean, would she not have a cell phone?
Right. It
I
affects
mean, I know
everything.
I know there are places where there's pockets where you don't get a good signal,
Right.
but still, the way people check in with each other on a regular basis, how how likely is it that they would have been trapped there for 3 days,
Right.
uh, being attacked by this giant Saint Bernard?
No, it's true. It's true.
Um,
Well,
all right.
there's one more reboot that I
Oh no, go
wanted to
ahead.
mention, and that was the Stand reboot, which was very disappointing. I
I
have to
agree.
say there was such an incredible cast and storyline to the Stand, from the '90s, wasn't it '90s? Yeah, that
Hmm.
that we watched. Molly Ringwald, Gary Sinise, just incredible acting. And you really invest in the characters, the musical score, everything. And so try to do it again, and it cheapened it in such a way that I was super disappointing.
Yeah.
So I think you got to be super careful with stuff like when you're when you're a movie production company, you're thinking about dollars. Everybody's a critic now. So when you start messing with stuff that's like names of things that people like, it's like you need to understand what really got it to click with people. It's not the name Walker. It's not like people. It could have been the name Bob. You know what I
It
mean?
was
It's not.
Chuck Norris
It was
with a
Chuck
roundhouse kick to the
Norris.
face that was connecting.
That's right. Jared Padalecki, as much as I like him from Supernatural, I don't look at him and say, all of the different sayings for Chuck Norris
Yeah.
that we have, right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, monsters check under the bed for Jared Padalecki before they go to bed. No, that's not no, no. Or like what the cure
Jared,
for cancer is actually Jared Padalecki's tears, but he's never cried. What? He's cried. I saw Supernatural. I know what happens.
Jared Padalecki sneezes and all the germs die.
Right? Come on. It only works for Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like that's part of the intrigue with the show. Um, yeah. So anyway, I'd say you got to be careful with reboots, but Yeah, good call on the Cobra Kai gold standard.
All right, so I don't really have anything other than what we've mentioned, like with Harry Potter and things, but as far as potential reboots that are coming up. But I want to play a little game with you. We're calling it Reboot or Riot.
Ooh.
I'm gonna pitch you a potential reboot idea, and I want you to tell me if you'd watch it or if you'd rather start a riot.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. A gritty, realistic version of Little House on the Prairie. We're talking dysentery, bear attacks, the works. Reboot or riot?
Riot. Riot. The show. Mr. Riot. Horrible. You might as well. You might as well
You don't
have.
want to see it. You don't want to see an Oregon Trail version of Little House on the Prairie where it's like, you know, where little Laura Ingalls it's just reading from her diary and it's all like horrible things about Mary going blind and
I'd
and that
rather
that
watch
Nelly.
Dr. Quinn Dragon Slayer. You
Hey, that'd
know.
be awesome. Dear CBS,
Seriously.
how do we make this happen? All right. Okay, how about this one? Steel Magnolias, but as a long-running series instead of a movie. You could dive deeper into each character's backstory. You could really milk those tear ducts,
Yes,
because you think about it, you
I'd
think about
watch
the
it.
movie, it takes place over the span of 3 years. You already
Yeah.
got 3 seasons worth of content right there.
Yeah.
You just
Now
have to you just have to spread it out and build it
you'd
out.
have to have some good casting, but there's enough really funny ladies that could be like Louisa, and Olivia.
Ooh,
I think that would be incredible.
that would be. I think that would be good. I don't
I
know who
hope they
owns the
don't
rights to Steel
reboot the
Magnolias.
movie because I think if they reboot the movie, it would cheapen it. Yeah, but if they did it as a series, I think I'd like it.
Yeah, I think it'd make an interesting series because then you could go into more depth about like all the characters, not just it's not just about Julia Roberts having diabetes and her eventual downturn and
Yeah.
spoiler alert death. um but even after like her character passes away, you could still go with the aftermath of that and find what do these characters do
Right.
to move
Right.
on
Right.
from her loss.
Right. There's
So
so so
you
many
can get
great
4 or
character
5 seasons out of
dynamics.
that for sure.
That's worth seeing again, by the way. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Well, those are the only two I really had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, oh, jeez. That's like them doing the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. You know what I mean? It's like, what? You know?
You haven't seen that yet. I'm
Blood
curious.
honey.
And they made a sequel.
Blood and honey. Yeah, wrong. Wrong. Wrong.
Oh my gosh. All right. So here we go. I gotta be honest with you. I don't have a recommendation in our recommendation corner this week. Do you have anything this time?
I am watching now once we finish the Superman, because that was our other podcast. I switched back to watching Superman and Lois. And
Mm.
I'm finishing out season one with that. The 3 seasons, and I'm coming along with it. I probably it'd be good for us to throw that on there too, on the wheel, because I think that it's worth talking about the different ways that they handle certain characters.
Now on that one, I have seen the first season. But I never did get into season 2 or 3, so I'll have to go back and watch those at some point. But I do want to because the fourth season, the things that they've talked about, like what's coming up for the fourth and final season, really look interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I think in season 3 they introduced Michael Cudlitz
yeah.
as
As
Lex
Lex Luthor.
Luthor.
Yeah, I've got a
Uh,
he owns a red the red. He's co-owner of the Red Phone Booth, which is my speakeasy that I'm a member of. But he co-owns the one in Nashville, and one of the other owners, when he got the role and it was announced, I shot the owner a text and said, "Hey, next time you're around Cutlets, tell him that a fan says congratulations." And he says, "I'm sitting with him now," and he says, "Thanks." And I was like, "Well, it's the closest I'll ever get to the man,"
so I'll always remember him as there was an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where he was a zombie that they like his buddies raised him from the dead so they could have one last night of
Oh yeah.
debauchery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was one of his things. When he woke up from the dead, he asked his friend, Walker, Texas Ranger. He's like, I've been taping every episode, man. You got it at home.
That's funny. I remember him from he was in Lost. He played the oh, what's her name's the fellow cop, her partner.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Anna
Anna Lucia.
Lucia. Anna Lucia. Yeah, and then of course he's Abraham from The Walking Dead, which was such a great character.
That was
In the
that was
basement.
spot on casting.
Oh my gosh, so good. So good.
All right. Well, y'all, it looks like we've reached the end of another episode, but before we go, it's time to spin the wheel
Yeah.
and find out what topic we're going to dive into next time.
Spin the wheel, my friend. Spin the wheel.
Now, because we've already covered both seasons of my Adventures with Superman, I took that off the wheel. It's not there anymore. And I took off the reboot
right
topic. So what we've got in their place, Die Hard.
Ooh.
John McClane's personal life throughout the series. We'll take a look at him. Popcorn Psychology. We're going to take a look at Marty McFly through the lens of psychology.
There you go.
And I added the power of satire.
I like it.
All right. So here we go.
All right, let's go.
See it?
And Star Wars ethics of cloning.
Star Wars ethics of cloning.
I love that.
All right, so we're gonna get into, is it ethical to clone Jango Fett over and over again just to have an expendable army? All right, so that'll be one episode next week, and after that, it'll be
the power of satire, I think.
Power of satire. All right.
All right. That's right.
Satire is a powerful thing. Can move mountains, destroy governments.
Just gonna say it could do a lot.
All right. So that's what you got to look forward to next time. In our next couple of episodes. So we'll have some cloning ethics based on the lore of Star Wars, and then talk about some satirical movies and TV shows and parodies and things. So strap in for that stuff, guys. It's sure to be a laugh riot. All right. Okay, so where are we at? Oh, we're at the end. All right. Landon, anything else you want to throw out there before we go?
No, thanks for listening. Have a great week.
All right, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, share this stuff with your friends. If you like what you're listening to, they might like it too. So, as always, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.